What's up guys, this is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal development for INFJs and how to create an epic life on your terms. Today we're talking about INFJ dating, what you do when you keep going back. And I'm not just talking about literally going back and getting back together with that person. It's also about obsessing about the other person, daydreaming about what it could be, when in reality, nothing has shown you that this relationship is making progress in a way that makes you happy. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you want to take the next step in creating your INFJ epic life, then work with me privately. For the first time in years, I'm offering single session. It will be only for a trial period because so many people approached me that couldn't take part in the boot camp. So this is probably going to be October 10th till November 10th. It's only going to be a trial period where you can book single sessions. So if you're interested, watch out for that and sign up. So why is this an INFJ topic? I've talked about it in a couple of my other videos that for us, it's very hard to let go of a vision. We project something into the future, we see a possible scenario about something that could happen, and that becomes our truth. This thing can be a huge benefit in our life, and it will help us to really stay focused, to stay patient, and to go for what we want. But it also has its downside. And the downside is that we keep on staying stuck on realities that aren't realities to begin with. They're just something that we have put in our mind, and then it's final. We believe the person really is the person that we think they are. We think they could be perfect for us. We think the kind of intensity that I experience here, there's nothing else that can give me this kick. And so therefore we stay. And the question is, why is that even a problem? Well, if it wasn't a problem, you wouldn't be obsessing over it. See, if you have a relationship where everything is going great, you feel like you can grow, you can move forward, and you have a partner at your side who's doing the same thing, you wouldn't be thinking about these things. These kind of relationships are actually very peaceful. It's a feeling of being content and feeling like there's no drama in your life. Yes, of course, there's passion and love, but it's not this intensity that we crave for so often. The things that really get stuck in our head are the things that are not working out. The things that are a possibility in our mind, but that haven't manifested yet. And since I've worked with hundreds of INFJs, I don't even know how many, maybe it's even thousands so far, this is something that I hear over and over again. And it's so interesting to me that although we're so different in so many ways and live in different parts of the world, this is one of those things we all have in common. Because I self-sabotaged myself for probably over a decade, probably starting when I was 12 and I had my first crush, all the ways to the beginning of my 30s. It is part of my mentality, and I have to be very cautious about how I approach it. I don't blame myself for it, but I also know that I have to take a step back. I cannot rely on my mind to tell me this is the truth. And there are certain things you can remember that will help you to move forward. See, we as INFJs, we are prone specifically when we go into the NITI loop to go full throttle into NI. And if you go full throttle into NI, you ignore NE. Remember, in the MBTI world, we don't have any NE at all, so extroverted intuition. If you go a little bit deeper into socionics, you recognize that there's still a combination. And I mean, if you look at it from a logical standpoint, it makes sense, right? If you go more into introverted intuition, which is there's one solution, there's one goal, there's one vision. Of course, that is the opposite than seeing, oh, there's so many different opportunities. There's so many different ways of seeing this and experiencing this. You know, see, this is the difference. And when we are so prone to, that person is my future, that person understands me, that person is my solution. If you're really prone to this, then of course you're gonna ignore everything else. So why are we doing this? Why are we holding on to something that isn't really moving forward? Well, that's exactly the reason why. Because it's not moving forward, because it stays a vision. The moment this becomes a reality, so let's say you imagine there's this person and you could have this great future with each other, and that thing would actually work out, the intensity would go away. This feeling of being alive would go away. This thing that allows you to step back from reality and just daydream, that thing goes away. Because imagine, let's say there's this person and you continuously get to think about that person and all the opportunity that this brings. This is an impulse that tells you, don't focus on your real life, escape reality and go into your mind. And on a subconscious level, this is something that we as INFJs do all the time. First off, because we can, and second of all, because we're so prone to this being in our mind that we don't focus on improving our reality. That is also a combination, right? The more you're in your mind, the less you're focused on the real world. And the less you're focused on the real world, the less you're going to be able to actually transform it. This is all a matter of practice. Like even I, as an INFJ who's very strong in my intuitive sense, and I've spent so much time in my head, I have learned to create a reality that makes me happy. And for the longest time, I didn't see how that was possible because I was barely scratching the surface, and I thought, okay, if I continue like this, there's nothing I can change here. This isn't feeling like I'm making progress. But unless you're willing to actually go those steps and make that reality better, it's not going to change. So what is the solution here? I mean, why is this happening and how do you get out of it? Well, first off, admit it to yourself. Awareness is key here. I admit to myself over and over again, even for the longest time, that I'm addicted to certain situations that are not moving forward. And this is my responsibility. Just because my mind says, go do that, doesn't mean that that's the right thing. Same thing if you're, for example, a smoker. Your mind will tell you, go smoke. It will make you feel better. If you're, for example, addicted to fast food, your mind will tell you, go eat that. So these kind of impulses, just because they come natural to you, that doesn't mean that they're the right choice for you. It really is about self-discipline, and we have to actually get to a point where we know, I cannot rely on my willpower forever. I have to make the switch as easy as possible. I have to do it as gradually as possible with incremental upgrades that actually help me to stay focused on what is really going to improve my life. So instead of thinking about, okay, but this person understands me, there's so much passion here, we could actually have this great life, ask yourself, well, is this actually moving forward? In the last couple of months, has the other person shown you actively? And I'm not talking about, oh, they played a song and that song showed me how much that person cares about me. I'm talking about, has this person said to your face, and not only said, but shown through their actions that they're willing to take the next step? So I, for example, was in a long-term relationship for, on and off, maybe even 10 years. I'm not sure. We started dating, it was my first relationship. We started dating when I was 16 and probably went until I was 26, but even longer than that, right? It was on and off. And that person continuously made a point in making me stay with them mentally. It was even sometimes we didn't hear from each other for half a year, but they made sure they called me and we are back with that connection. It was a long distance relationship. It was something where I could actually daydream about, but it was also something that wasn't moving forward. And every single time my mind went back to this, I was doing myself a disservice. Because it doesn't matter how well it sounds in your head. Does this give you a future? Does this improve? It doesn't matter if the person is really smart or they understand you or whatever kind of things you're telling yourself. Is this person actively doing the steps as you are doing the steps to have a life together that is moving forward? Are you taking steps like moving in together, starting a family, helping each other in your business endeavors? Whatever it is it moving forward? Because we as INFJ, we need this. And very often I hear things like, well, it's not like I'm actually getting back together with that person. I know that they're not good for me, that they haven't been really somebody who was helping me. It was more like I was saving them or they were an escape, but I'm not really acting on it. The acting part isn't the worst thing about this. It's your mind, because every single time you daydream about this, you're not using your mind to make your reality better. And at the same time, if you do make your reality better, it's that much harder to get you swayed away from this. So the same person that I was talking about, even if I talked to them a couple of months ago or something, there's no way I would go back. It's not because they know me less now or because they don't know how to hit my triggers that would make me normally get back mentally into that relationship, but it's because my current reality, the relationship I've built, the family life I've built, all of this, my business, my reality is just so good and so stable that I'm not willing to take my mind off of that to indulge in some daydream that isn't moving forward. So I've seen that this is a typical INFJ thing because we're not putting the effort into creating that reality. So the other day I was talking to somebody in the comments, and it was something that actually made me do this video because I got reminded how often I've heard this even in the last weeks. So, this story came up of, okay, what if there is somebody that I really like that's living overseas or in another country or in another state, and there's nothing holding me back right here in my reality? Why wouldn't I go over there? Why wouldn't that make me happy? Why is that something bad? Of course, there's nothing bad about it, but you wouldn't have those thoughts if this thing was actually a possibility. Most of the time, it's somebody who isn't actively showing you that they want to do this with you. Most of the time, it's some situation where that person doesn't have the strength to pull through and say, okay, let me take the responsibility on me for you to move over. Because you have to understand, every single time somebody says, yeah, come over, live with me, let's start a life here, that person takes on the responsibility of, if it doesn't work out, then it sort of was my mistake. I made that person come over and then nothing happened. So it doesn't matter what the reasons are. The point is that it hasn't happened yet. And if you're really honest with yourself, and 98% of the times, it's not going to change. If nothing happened in the last 2 years or even in the last 3 months, nothing is going to change in the future. If you're in a situation where okay, that person is working on a specific project and it's over in 2 months and then we're going to do this, great. But if you don't see an actual plan, then trust me, you're staying stuck on this because it kind of gives you an excuse not to focus on reality, because there's an opportunity, but you kind of have to wait it out. You can be the observer. The ball is not in your corner. So it's on us to understand that the ball is always in our corner, that it's about creating a life that makes sense for us. See, last year when I moved to Madrid with my now husband, it wasn't that I gave up my life, because my life, my reality is digitally. I didn't really give something up. I just took it with me and went to another physical place. That's not giving up your reality. What we mostly do is we completely imagine ourselves being in that other world, being the person's sidekick and living in their atmosphere, in their reality. And this will always be just an image, because even if you would live with that person, as long as you're trying to live through them, it's never going to work. It's not going to be something that is sustainable, because you're continuously going to be willing to make sacrifices that at some point you're going to resent the other person for. So if you're currently in a situation where you say, okay, I'm willing to give everything up, but the reality is that person isn't really willing to do the work, there isn't really this thing of that person has shown actively interest, has said to you, come on, let's move together next year, let's make this happen. None of this has happened. So be honest with yourself and say, I have to prioritize myself first. It cannot be that I'm not happy without another person. I've been there, and I can guarantee you, you can be satisfied, happy, and fulfilled on your own. And only when you're able to do that, you're really able to take on people into your life who enrich it, where you're not willing to make compromises on your integrity and on your well-being just to feel better. Of course, a daydream is better than a reality that sucks. But if you focus on creating a reality knowing that the first steps are hard, but they keep getting better and better and better, then you'll see how a relationship will add to the amazing reality that you've built, instead of helping you escape a reality that you haven't dared to take on. I really hope that helped you and inspired you to look at your relationships and your dating in a different light. Remember, if you want my help with it, then work with me privately. As I said, in a couple of days, we start with the trial period of single coaching sessions. So check that out. And if you want to watch another video now that is in line with today's topic, then watch my video on INFJ Dating, what you need to know as an INFJ. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.